In 1492, Christopher Columbus, in Spanish Cristóbal Colón, reached land that he believed to be offshore islands of China and Southeast Asia. He had in fact reached the Caribbean West Indies. Born in Genoa, Italy, Columbus's early years remained somewhat obscure. We know that in 1476 he joined his brother in a map-making establishment located in Lisbon. At the time, Portugal was the most energetic maritime country in Europe. Sometime during that period, he formulated the idea that it would be shorter and therefore easier and faster to reach China, Japan, and the precious Spice Islands by sailing west on a northern hemisphere latitude instead of east, around the coast of Africa and its long legs south. 16 years would pass before he could test his theories. On voyages to Iceland, the Azores, and the Mediterranean, employed in the Portuguese merchant service, he developed his maritime skills. After having his ideas and plans turned down by the King of Portugal, he went to Spain. It took him a year to gain an audience with Queen Isabella, and 6 more to get his project accepted. Even then, the funds for the voyage were granted grudgingly. Columbus didn't help matters by insisting on being granted the hereditary title of Admiral of the Ocean Seas and Governor and Viceroy of any lands he discovered, along with 10% of all gold, gems, spices, and other merchandise, tax-free. The 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and his favorite, the Niña, sailed from Palos, Spain on August 3, 1492. The course was smooth through the Canary Islands, off the coast of Africa, where, like her sisters, the Niña was converted from lateen to square rig to take advantage of the easterly trade winds. Columbus had assumed that Japan lay 2,400 miles west of the Canaries, rather than the correct distance of 10,600 miles. As time passed, this miscalculation forced a longer voyage, causing the crew to become uneasy and complain. But Columbus was undeterred. On October 10, despite flocks of birds which suggested land nearby, he was forced to promise to turn back if landfall was not reached within 3 days. The next day, a lookout sighted land, and they soon anchored in 5 fathoms in a shallow coral bay. Going ashore, Columbus named the island San Salvador, Holy Savior. The grandiose plans to meet the Emperor of China and return with gold, however, were not fulfilled. But Columbus was unwittingly to begin an exchange of plants and wildlife that would profoundly alter civilization. It was on his 3rd voyage in 1498 that he sighted the coast of South America, Venezuela, and sailed along what would later be called the Spanish Main. The expedition ended in disgrace, however, when a rebellion in Hispaniola resulted in his removal as governor and return to Spain in chains. 2 years later, in 1502, the Spanish crown reluctantly agreed to a 4th and final voyage, possibly to get Columbus out of the way. By the standards of the day, he was an old man at 51, arthritic and subject to recurring bouts of malaria. The voyage ended in disaster, with his worm-eaten ships aground on a sandy beach in Jamaica. Once again returning to Spain in disgrace, he died 18 months later. Although he was a poor administrator and a worse politician, Columbus rightfully holds a special place of importance in the history of the Western Hemisphere. His efforts launched an era of Spanish domination in the New World and a transfer of wealth previously unimaginable in Europe. Tragically, however, it also led to the extermination of Indian cultures and encouraged a cruel slave trade.